Roborock has launched a brand new flagship line of mopping robots. It's called the Saros line, and this is the Saros 10R. And this is their most advanced robot yet with their best and newest navigation system. And we're gonna put it through our new battery of about 20 tests to find out if it is the very best mopping robot that you can buy right now. The Saros 10R and its brother, the Saros 10, were introduced at the Consumer Electronics Show in Las Vegas a little bit earlier this year. These are both ultra slim robots that are a little bit less than 8 centimeters high. They both have advanced base stations, improved suction, and mopping performance. Now, Roborock sent me the Saros 10R for review. However, they have no input in this video, and they definitely haven't paid me. Now, we're gonna compare these two robots in a future video. So for now, let's get into the testing. In our testing, we're giving 5 points to each category with 3 exceptions: hardwood pickup, carpet pickup, and navigation. We think those should be double weighted because those are very important functions. In our hardwood pickup test, we're sprinkling 20 grams of sand onto the hardwood. We're gonna set the robot to maximum suction in 2 passes, and then we're gonna measure the results afterwards. And it picked up 100% in hardwood, which is exactly what you expect. For our carpet test, we're gonna run it twice. First, we're gonna sprinkle 20 grams of sand onto the carpet and not smush it in and let the vacuum do its thing. In between tests, we vacuum the carpet to get a full reset. The second time, we're gonna repeat the test, but this time we're gonna crush it in with our red shoe. When we sprinkled the sand on the carpet, the 10R picked up 80% of the sand. And when we ground it in, it picked up 60%. This is a very similar score to the Roborock Q-Revo Curve. Let's talk about the main brush roll. It's called Duo Divide. And what you've got is 2 independent brush rolls that spin at separate speeds, and they're designed to eliminate tangles by pushing the hair down to the center into here. If you do get tangles, these just pop out really easily. We got some 10-inch green hair on the carpet. Let's send the 10R out and check the results afterwards. Let's take a look. Looks pretty good to me. I don't see any long hair on these brush rolls at all. I think this is a pretty effective system. Now let's try the same test with cat hair, of which I've got a lot. I don't see any cat hair on here at all. This is definitely very good. Compared to just a couple years ago where tangles were kind of a big issue for vacuums, I think Roborock makes one of the best, if not the best, anti-tangle system I have seen on a robot yet. For a corner pickup test, we've got 8 grains of rice, a little bit of cat hair. Roborock has a technology they call Flexi Arm, where this brush pops out to the side and is able to get into corners. And let's see how that extending side brush works. Picked up all the grains of rice, and I think most of the pet hair, I think one little tiny piece might have gotten blown to the side. That's pretty common, but overall I think that's really good. Our next test is our mopping test. We're gonna pour a set amount of soy sauce onto the floor, then we're gonna set the robot to 2 passes and deep cleaning, maximum water. Just to show I'm cleaning it up before we start. I think that's actually very good. There is really not a lot of soy sauce left on the floor. And what it did is it recognized that there was a mess on the floor in the middle of its mopping. And then it went back to the dock to wash the mops and it came back. And I'm showing you the paper towel after it came back. So really good job. I want your feedback. I want to make the mopping test more realistic. So soy sauce, sure, but are there other tests that you want to see that you would actually encounter in your home? Let me know. The second time we're going to set it to the smart plan mode, which is sort of an artificial intelligence mode. Let it do its own thing, see if it does any better. Very interesting. So in the smart plan mode, which is the AI mode, it actually didn't detect the stain and it just did a single pass of mopping and it didn't go back to wash it in between. So actually you can see there is a little bit of soy sauce left on the paper towel. So kind of the opposite of what I expected. Now we're checking the cleanliness of the mop pads immediately after the base station has washed them. They're actually quite warm. Looks really clean to me. I think it did a very good job. In our edge mopping test, we see how close the mop can get to baseboards, and the Saros 10R is really good. In our corner mopping test, the 10R did a very average job, which is to say, not very good. But all robots with spinning mop pads have trouble fitting a round object into a square corner. Next is our edge sweeping test. We sprinkled about 20 grains of rice along the floor, along with a little bit of sand as well. So this is going to be a test of how effective the side brush is. Looking at the floor afterwards, it looks like the 10R basically swept up all of the rice and all the sand after doing a couple passes. That flexi arm side brush, it really works. Our bumping test is designed to see how careful a robot vacuum is with your furniture. So this test is going to show us how close it can get to table legs without bumping into them or scratching them. This may or may not be a concern to you. There are different cleaning settings depending on how aggressive or how safe you want it to be with your furniture. So I've been showing you the none setting, which means it's going to gently bump up against furniture and ensure that the maximum cleaning is done. But let's try it now on sensitive. In sensitive mode, it does seem to be more gentle with the table legs, although sometimes the mop does actually touch the table leg slightly. It does do a very good job of getting up close, but if you've got expensive furniture and you're concerned about the mop touching it, just take that into consideration. The Saros 10R has Roborock's most advanced obstacle avoidance system. It's able to recognize over 100 objects. It has a new time of flight sensor in the front along with an RGB camera. On the side, it also has a lateral obstacle avoidance system, which is designed to help it go around things like furniture and chair legs and so forth. So in this test, we're gonna see exactly how well it does with a shoe with its shoelaces untied and a common household object like a sock and also some fake pet poop. So you can see in the app, it successfully identified the power cable, the shoe, the fake pet poop, and looks like the sock. And if you click on any of these, I've set it up so that it'll actually take a photograph, but you can define if you want it to take photographs or not. You can see it identified that power cable there, which is quite a risky thing for a lot of robot vacuums, and so it stayed away from it. Now I'm just gonna throw a phone charging cable on the floor and see how it handles it. Pretty tough experiment. Oh, I think it identified it in the app. You can see it right there. Yep, let's see how it does. It's acting pretty cautious. Uh-oh, making me nervous. Oh no. Oh no. All right. As these robots get better and better, we're adding in some real-world testing because not every test that we invent is a substitute for the situations that a robot might encounter in your home. First, because the Saros 10R is very slim at just under 8 centimeters, it had no problem cleaning under the stove. Next, these doormats are very difficult for most robots, and I typically set them as a no-go zone because a lot of them just get stuck. But now, I'm seeing what these newer robots can do. And the Saros didn't get stuck, which in my mind is actually pretty impressive. And here, it successfully identified this bottled water, which was sealed in plastic, as a plastic bag, and it cleaned around it. Now these wire chair legs can be pretty difficult for a lot of robots, and it successfully identified them and it avoided them. The only trouble it had was with these pet mats. However, I'm going to mention that no robot I've tested so far has successfully avoided these. I always set this area as a no-go zone, and I think with a software update, this could probably be fixed. And finally, the Saros 10R is one of the few robots that I've tested that can successfully navigate and clean a shag carpet. The 10R is an extremely quiet robot. In fact, it's just about the quietest we've tested so far. In normal cleaning mode, it's at about 56 decibels. When it's at the base station cleaning the mop, it's at 59 decibels. In emptying the dustbin, it was at 70 decibels for just a couple seconds. If noise is a big factor for you, the 10R should definitely be on your short list. Roborock has a very well-developed app. It's probably one of the best in the industry. First, when you do mapping of your home, it recognizes furniture really nicely and kind of outlines it in a very easy to understand way. You can see where your base station is, and you can see that it recognized this piece of wood that I put on the floor. It's pretty easy to switch between multiple maps, so you can have different maps for different floors in your house. It automatically names the different rooms, although it's pretty easy to rename them. And I found that if you want to do mopping on another floor, it's pretty easy. You just take the robot there, set it down, and it'll either automatically recognize what floor it's on, or you can set it that way. You can tell it a specific order that you want to clean your rooms, and you can also give it specific zones that you want it to go to. So I could say, hey, I want to clean this zone here, It's pretty easy to do that. And then you can define what you want to do in each of those zones or each of those rooms. So you hit the Smart Plan button over here, and you can have it do Smart Plan, which is going to be the AI mode where it's going to determine automatically, or you can choose specific vacuum and mopping modes. So anywhere from suction power from quiet all the way to max, water flow, number of passes that you want it to do. You can specify the same type of thing for mopping, or you can do just vacuum only, or you can customize any of the zones that you want. You can control the base station, so you can tell it to empty the robot, you can wash the mops, or you can dry the mops. And you've even got some specific dock settings here too. There's also a lot of ways you can customize the type of cleaning that you want. For example, in floor cleaning settings, you can decide how you want the flexi arm to work, automatic remopping, cleaning patterns. There's really a lot that you can do. And even reactive optical avoidance, you can have it be a little bit more sensitive or a little bit less sensitive. With this collision mode, you can tell it to take pictures of your pets or not. And they also define their privacy policy on how photos are stored. So essentially, you can have it take a photo and it'll be stored encrypted on your device. If you want to view it in the app, it will be transmitted to the server and then deleted after 3 days, but you can read the policy. And of course, you can turn all that stuff off if you want. And if you want to do remote viewing, in other words, have a conference call with your cat or your dog, you can hit remote viewing. You need to turn it on first. Then you'll need to physically hit the power button. Then you go back to the app to activate it. Then you need to draw a pattern on the phone. And now it's turned on. So I can control the robot. And every 10 seconds or so, it says remote viewing active. So it's definitely alerting the people or the pets in your home that it is watching you.
Remote viewing active.
This next test is a viewer suggested test, and that is edge carpet cleaning. How well can the Saros 10R clean carpets right up against the edge of baseboards? Not a lot of robots do this well. We got some pet hair and a couple grains of rice. Let's see if it can get right up to the edge. The Roborock just finished cleaning the carpet and it didn't really get up to the edge. It didn't activate the side brush. There actually are not many robots that do. What is crazy to me is how fast the robot vacuum industry is advancing. Last year, Roborock introduced the Q-Revo curve that could climb over thresholds up to 30 millimeters high. That's a little bit more than an inch. And this has the same capabilities as that. Now, I've got a piece of plywood over here that is a little bit less than that. It's about 20 millimeters high. Once the Roborock had mapped the threshold, it had no difficulty getting over it. Sometimes, yes, it takes a second for it to climb over, but every time we tried it, it went over successfully. Now let's talk about the base station. First off, it is very shiny. You can probably see my reflection in there. And of course, you've got 2 water tanks, clean water, dirty water. And I should note that these tanks seem to be a little bit smaller than the Roborock Q-Revo curve. In here, you got your dust collection bag, and then you've also got a tank which you can put solution in, which is going to help clean the mop pads. And of course, the robot is self-emptying. It can also wash the mop pads with water at up to 80 degrees Celsius. That's pretty hot. And it also dries the mop pads with hot air. And the base plate comes out for easy cleaning. And the base plate itself is self-cleaning. You can see these arms move around and basically squeegee out the dirt and hair. This piece comes off. You got a little filter here to catch your cat hair, dog hair, etc. So in the real world, this should be pretty low maintenance, and so far, I haven't had to clean it. If you've got carpet, there are multiple different ways of handling it. First, in the app, you can just tell the robot to leave the mop pads behind. Second, you can have it do the vacuuming of the carpet first and then do the mopping. And third, it'll automatically lift its mops a couple millimeters when it finds carpet. So is the Roborock Saros 10R the very best mopping robot that you can buy right now? And the answer is yes, actually it is. However, there are some caveats. And some of those caveats depend on the best deal that you can find. And I've launched a monthly newsletter at vacuumnerds.com. You can go subscribe where I'm gonna detail the best deals that are coming up. And I can tell you that there is a special Amazon event coming up in the very near future, that you're not gonna wanna miss. So the first caveat I mentioned already is price. The second one is obstacle avoidance. The 10R had some trouble with the charging cable I threw on the floor in front of it. A difficult test for sure, but the Dreamy X50 Ultra avoided it. So the Saros 10R scored 90 points out of a possible 105. That is one better than its nearest competitor, the Dreamy X50 Ultra. So these two robots are both fantastic. They're excellent robots. So there's actually two areas of difference, and they're not huge differences, but the first one is the wet mopping test. So the Saros 10R was a little bit better than the Dreamy here because when we poured the soy sauce on the floor, it actually detected it and then it went and mopped it, went back to the base station and came back and cleaned it up again, leaving the floor cleaner. There's no other robot so far in my testing that has been able to do that successfully. And the second thing is that it's just slightly better at pet hair tangles. Now let's take a look at the final score. Each category is worth 5 points, except hardwood pickup, which we've doubled because I think the essentials are important. The 10R did well in the carpet pickup test, but not quite as good when we ground it in, and it performed quite well in all the rest of the scores. Interestingly, mopping performance in AI mode was not as good as mopping performance without AI turned on. I guess it kicked in automatically. And you can see the Saros 10R did quite well in all the other categories, except it wasn't quite as good in bumping as some of the competitors. But overall, we give it 90 out of a possible 105 points. Now there's some features that I'm actually not including in the scoring, but all of the high-end robots pretty much have these now. Things like hot air mop drying, auto empty, mop washing, all that kind of stuff. However, I should mention that the Saros 10R does have a 2.5 hour charge time, which is quite a bit shorter than its competitors. And I'm not scoring the threshold crossing feature yet because not many robots have it. As I mentioned before, we've expanded our obstacle avoidance test to include real-world things in my house, and the Saros 10R is excellent in that regard. Yes, it ran over the pet area, that gray mat with the pet bowls. However, every other robot that I've tested has run over that area. So if you're looking for a flagship robot vacuum, the Saros 10R is fantastic. There's some really good choices right now in 2025. I'm gonna be doing a comparison test of all the premium robot vacuums in the next couple months as they come out. So probably I'll be publishing that around April. I've got another robot vacuum review coming up next week, so be sure to subscribe and check out this video right over here.